Well, before you install 204, we need to have a talk. Honestly, the situations that I had, and I bring up this Windows menu that's just dancing around on my screen and dancing off, because 1909 was horrible. 2004 has its redeemable points. If you're doing Intel or nvidia, it's very seamless for the most part that I've noticed. And even like first and second generation AMD, so if you're looking at your first generation Threadripper, second generation 1950, 2050, probably your 2980, it's probably going to be really good. It's a head scratcher way. All of a sudden out of nowhere, you get your 32 core beast 7nm process, and all of a sudden it starts going crazy. Also, there's a lot of tech issues that run into with some of the capture cards. This is mainly towards like streamers, so like if people have enthusiast gear, if you have some issues with this, what I'm going to suggest, and this is probably the easiest thing in order to fix this, is before you end up going to any of your installs for the Windows, you're definitely going to want to try this first. Go ahead and uninstall your graphics driver at that point in time, or if you can at that portion, DDU it, so that way that you're just basically taking it off. One of the things I noticed when it flipped back over after a horrible audio check on the last like mid-patch note, I noticed that my voice was fine, but the graphics driver integration was completely wrong. It had like these broken little choppy points, and I was like, what is going on with this? And then I went to go online to look up like videos, and the graphics driver is just completely crapped out. My computer ran fine, but the minute I tried to watch playback on YouTube or anything else, it went through a mess. And I went back to 1909 and it was the same issue. I literally had to rebuild Windows and keep my files and, you know, reinstall my program. So I had to rebuild OBS and a few other things, which wasn't that bad. I'm actually pretty good at it for the most part. But for most people that aren't, and they've invested a lot of time into a lot of settings, this is going to be a nightmare. So doing these steps beforehand is going to save you a lot of time. Make sure uninstall your graphics driver if you have an AMD, then install 204, and then install it right after. And the reason why I found that out was because after it rebuilt it, it tossed the AMD graphics driver that was installed in the recycling bin. And it usually only does that when it gets rid of something, when it's trying to like clean install it, because I've watched and witnessed that a few times through installation of graphic drivers. So that was a pretty heavy install, which means it did not like having the AMD like I guess coding in there while it was trying to do its own thing. I think 2004 is a great software, but I think we are going to be swimming with a lot of updates with this new architecture that it's kind of running on, because I figure the two things that I have in common with my Threadripper that's 32 cores, that's the current generation with 7nm, is the 7nm, because my Radeon 7s have 7nm process architecture. So that is the common ground here, versus my other one where my Threadripper, the 2950X, it has a smaller NMN processor portion of like I guess performance, versus the 7nm, even though it's tinier, it has a lot more performance, which is pretty cool. So I'm definitely going to say that for the community members. Make sure you uninstall your graphics driver to avoid anything crazy. I mean, you could do it either way, just as a safe bet before you're doing 204. And then also on top of there, one of the things that I found out, and luckily I think it was EpostVox that posted this, because if you have the Aver 4K card like me, again, enthusiast gear, you're going to end up sitting in a situation where there was a lot of issues with this, and I was able to bring up about how to fix this, and then I was able to basically, the company Aver knew what was going down. They already had beta software lined up, and man, did it fix it instantly. My audio sounded perfect. I dialed in to better audio, and then I did find that EpostVox also had like some other stuff down there. So I don't know if he did post this. It could just be, you know, coincidental time situation, but it was nice to be a creator and have an answer there. I mean, that was pretty much a nightmare for me. I lost a whole day's worth of work, literally, just because of 204 not adapting well with my top tier AMD gear. But again, it adopted really well with the already established AMD gear, because Windows has had a long time, and they already had issues with 1909, and that might have been one of their striving points, like how it wasn't utilizing all the kernels in like the Threadripper models, and Linux was kicking the crap out of it in performance. So they could have just targeted certain AMD models, and then because of the newer ones, they were just like, yeah, yeah, whatever, we'll get it into patches or another round. I think that they have hope in this, so don't lose hope on 2004. It is definitely better than 1909, but darn is it a rocky like boot in. But so did 1909. When 1909 slammed into it, what did end up happening? Most people couldn't even install it because you had to unplug your freaking USB. Literally. When my AMD would not even install, and I literally had to watch this video. It was just this random dude on YouTube, and he was just like, yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, I just took the USB out of all of them when it installed, and it worked. And I was just like, well, I mean, what else do I have to lose? And it worked. So, all right, everyone. Hopefully, I can avoid you guys and gals some time. The what to do before 2004 is installed for AMD gear. All right, everyone. If you're new to the network, you can subscribe. It's absolutely free. Helps me as a creator, and if you do today, who knows, maybe Windows will, you know, patch its own stuff, or like have a beta team and let me beta test stuff so I can complain to them, and then they'll be like, cool, now no one else has to complain. Anyways, everyone, stay classy, stay safe, and I'll see you all there in the near future.